everyone, welcome back to the podcast. If you've been listening to this show at all, you should know three things by now. One, I like food and cooking. Two, I like television. And three, I'm a big nerd. So today's show, we're going to hit the trifecta of my interests. We're going to talk about food and nerdiness about food. Today, we're going to talk to a senior editor at Cooks Illustrated, cast member of America's Test Kitchen, and host of the YouTube show Techniquely. It's Lan Lam. Hey, Lan, welcome to the show.
Hi, Curtis. It's great to be here.
And we should say, I often say in my head, I think I have some of the nicest guests on the internet. And today we proved it because I was an hour late to my own show. That has never happened before. So I guess I can't add or subtract 3 to numbers. So poor Lan was sitting here at 12 o'clock her time, and I was just goofing around the house, and I realized I was an hour late to my own show. But thank you for your patience, Lan. You deserve a meal. If you ever come out to San Francisco, let me know if you're up in the city, and we will take you out to dinner next time you're out here.
Oh my gosh, I'm always looking to eat out with new people. I'm in.
All right. Yeah, we'll take you to some holes in the wall out here in San Francisco. What's good in Boston these days?
So many things. Now that I can get out, I think there's a little bakery near my house called La Saison, and after this, I'm going to head over there. It's really sunny out today. It's gorgeous. Little cold, but I'm going to head over there, grab some cardamom coffee, and they do these orange marzipan scones that are they're just perfect.
Sounds great. Yeah, I've only been to Boston once, and I was there in January, and I realized that I was a soft Californian because when I got out there, I'm in my ski clothes. And I looked around, and people are walking around in like denim jackets or a leather jacket. You know, for us out here in California, 50, 55 is what we call freezing. Have you gotten harder over your years out there? Can you go out in a sweater in 30-degree weather?
I will put on a couple more layers. I'm not quite local enough to be rocking the iced coffee in the middle of January, but it's in the mid 40s today, and that's pretty nice because a couple of weeks ago it was minus 16, and that was terrible.
No, I read somewhere that you're a California kid?
I am. I grew up out there, and sometimes I wonder if there's a statute of limitations because I've been on the East Coast, I think, longer than I lived in California.
No, I think you're always going to be a California kid at heart, right?
Yeah, a little bit. There are a lot of likes in my when I speak, and it's probably a product of growing up out there in the 90s.
Now, so I stalked you a little bit on LinkedIn. Pardon my stalking of you. You were a chemistry major over on the East Coast?
I was. I majored in chemistry at Wesleyan University, and it was great until it wasn't.
Mm-hmm. Was there a plan with that? Was there any parental pressure with that?
Definitely. I went to college kind of knowing I didn't have a plan. And so I deliberately chose a place where I didn't have to pick a major. I was considering chemistry and I was considering history of some sort, unclear what, mostly because those are the classes I really loved in high school. And my parents definitely pushed me towards something a little bit more practical, or practical in their minds. Pre-med, it was, I could tell they were thinking it, although they never actually said, you have to do that. And so I chose chemistry, and I don't regret it. It was great. It was super fun. But halfway through the program, I realized I liked learning about chemistry. I didn't love doing it. Mm-hmm, that was not great.
Now, were you secretly reading cookbooks under your covers at night? When you're instead of studying chemistry, or you're reading Harold McGee's book? Or
Yeah, I actually have a librarian friend at Wesleyan University to thank for my career. Her name is Leslie Starr, and the summer between my junior and senior year, I was working in interlibrary loan, and Leslie handed Harold McGee to me, and she said, "You like cooking, and you like food, and you like science. I think you should read this book." And I have I have memories of like that hot Connecticut summer, like flipping through like the section on eggs and reading about albumin and egg whites and how there are different types.
Uh-huh.
And I should have recognized back then that I would move into this field eventually, but it took a while to get here.
So you graduate, and according to your LinkedIn, you just jump into cooking jobs. Was that a hobby turned into a career, or how did that happen? How did you learn how to cook?
Oh no, I moved up to Boston after college because I didn't know what I was doing with myself, and I look back and I think it's so funny that I was sure at the age of 22 that I was too old to go to culinary school. It was too late.
Yeah, you're so old. Yeah.
Right, exactly. But you know, I was privileged enough to have my parents help pay for college, and so the idea of asking them to foot the bill for more schooling in an area that I was sure they would not approve of didn't quite sit right with me. And so I was kind of just up in Boston hanging with friends, trying to figure out what I could do since I knew it wouldn't be chemistry. And eventually one of my friends said, "Hey, my mom's college roommate owns a restaurant in Cambridge. Why don't you just go talk to her?" And so her mother set up this interview, and I met Mary Catherine Diebel, who owned Upstairs on the Square. It's not a restaurant that's around anymore, but she was super kind, super thoughtful, offered to introduce me to her chefs. There were 2 restaurants in that building, and both restaurants were helmed by women. And so I met her chefs, and they were very encouraging and very friendly, and they offered to teach me. It would be for free. I could come in on my schedule, not theirs. And I did that for, 4 or 5 months. And that experience was it was transformative. I think I was so green and so new and just wide-eyed staring at everyone and everything because they all seemed so with it and so professional, and everything felt so fast.
Yeah.
But eventually somebody left suddenly, which is very typical of restaurants.
Uh-huh.
And they offered me a job, and that was how I got started.
Huh. That seems kind of rare to me that they would just take in a kid off the street, like no real culinary skills and just show you the ropes.
I don't think it actually is all that rare. I think a lot of restaurants are shorthanded, and so if you want to get in, this is a tip for anybody who wants to get into restaurants. If you're reliable, a good listener, and a hard worker, you can talk your way into most restaurants.
Especially now, actually, I heard there's a real shortage of kitchen help now.
Yeah, it's it comes in waves depending on the area. I think Boston is kind of moving away from that right now. Chatting with my friends who are in kitchens, it feels a little easier than it was a year ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago. So it really comes in fits and starts.
Yeah. Okay. Good to know. Hey, before we get talking about your day job, you mind playing a little America's Test Kitchen trivia?
I might not be very good at this.
Well, no, okay. I know you'll know the first one. The other 2 are so ridiculous, I don't expect you to know.
All right, here we go.
All right, let's do this. Thank you for playing along. Number 1 question. According to, in 2022, but also 2021, what was the number 1 downloaded recipe from your website? Uh-oh.
Oh, can I have 2 guesses?
Sure.
Wait, no, cast iron pan pizza?
Yeah, cast iron pan pizza, number 1. What was your second guess?
Shrimp scampi would have been my second guess.
I don't know where that ranked, but chicken and vinegar was, or the French.
The poulet au vinaigre.
Yeah. That's number 2. Oh. But yeah, cast iron pizza 2 years in a row.
Really?
Yeah.
I had no idea. I had a lot of fun with that pizza. I developed it in 2018, 2019.
Oh, so that's yours.
And it is mine. And it's kind of like my tribute to like the Pizza Hut pan pizzas I grew up eating. It's not it's not something that you would find in New York at on any corner. It's not an Italian style pizza. It is very American.
Yeah. I went through a little pizza phase. You'll know this guy. So I got a copy of Todd English's Figs cookbook, and so we make his dough. But you know what? The problem with home kitchens is our ovens just don't get hot enough. So the cast iron is a way around that. You get the little crispy crust.
You just have to find the right style of pizza for your oven.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. All right. So number 2, I don't expect you to know this, but you might be able to field a guess on this. For the 20th anniversary special on 2019, they threw out a fact out there. How many pounds of garlic has the test kitchen gone through in the first 20 years from 1999 to 2019? It's in the thousands.
Okay.
It's less than 5 more than 1.
That's less than I expected. Okay. Let's say 3,500.
You're pretty close. You're in the ballpark, 2,500. But yeah.
Okay.
But also, the other fact that came through is 52,000 pounds of flour. Now, I know you've done some of that.
Yeah, we go through a lot.
Yeah, that's amazing. All right, now this one is kind of funny. Now, I had to dig a little, so I went to IMDb. How many Asian cooks have presented? We are the Infatuasian podcast. So how many Asian cooks, including yourself, have presented on America's Test Kitchen?
Oh, it's going to be me.
Yep.
Kenji and Tim.
Okay.
Am I missing anyone?
They're before your time.
Dawn Yanagihara.
Oh,
Was she
I didn't
ever
have that
on TV?
one. I don't have that. Have you ever heard the name Sandra Wu?
Yes, she lives in the Bay Area, and she still actually freelances for us.
Okay, yeah, Sandra Wu, 2004 to 2007, so sort of the early days.
Yeah.
Then I have a Joanne Chang in 2016.
Joanne Chang of Flower Bakery. She's kind of one of my infatuations. There's a flower bakery in our building, and I am there every morning. The staff all know me. They all know my mug. And every so often I see Joanne in there, and I never can quite bring up the nerve to go say hello, but she's wonderful.
Okay. And Tian Ho, 2015. I don't know her.
I do not know that person.
Yeah, only one episode, so she must have been brought in. So yeah, there's a handful of y'all.
Yeah. Shout out to Sandra though. She recently did a corn and chicken soup that's actually pretty fantastic. You should check it out.
Okay, yeah. All right. Well, you did pretty well. You did. I don't think you embarrassed yourself. Awesome.
That's all I'm looking for.
Yeah, we should all be so lucky, right? Just don't embarrass ourselves. All right, so let's talk about Cooks Illustrated and a little bit of America's Test Kitchen. You know, my mom, she's not still a subscriber, but we used to have copies of Cooks Illustrated around the house, and my mom would get also Bon Appetit and Gourmet Magazine, but she would keep the Cooks Illustrated because of the covers. They're so beautiful. The paper is not that glossy, mass-produced paper, but it's a high quality, a nice feel to it, a little thicker to hold up to the stains and the drips you get in the kitchen. Yeah, but huge fan of Cooks Illustrated. Were you did you grow up watching or reading Cooks Illustrated or TK?
I feel bad confessing this, but I didn't really know what Cooks Illustrated was when I applied for the job. I guess that's not totally fair. Back when I was working at Troquet, my friend Wayne, he was a baker there. He said, "You've got to check out this magazine. They bring all this science to cooking. I think you'd love it." Mm-hmm. And he bought a copy for me that I devoured. But back then, I was keeping line cook hours, which meant you were just working 60, 70, 80 hours a week. And when you weren't working, you were either out with people or asleep. That was pretty much my life. And I never quite pursued educating myself. I spent a lot of time perusing cookbooks for inspiration, but I wasn't reading them to learn how to do anything. I think, sadly, I feel like I assumed that anything worth learning I would learn in the restaurant. And it's interesting to look back on that time in my career, and I feel like I'm so lucky that that I landed this job. I just feel really lucky.
Yeah, definitely seems like a good fit for you. So for those of us, cable cutters out there, I only had cooking shows on PBS, and yeah, it's one of my favorites. If audience out there, if you haven't watched it, out here in the West Coast, KQED on Saturday mornings, something around 11 o'clock, 10, 11 o'clock in the morning on Saturdays, you can watch America's Test Kitchen, or you can always get it on YouTube or online and get some episodes. But you've been there for about 12 years. What different roles have you had at the magazine and the show? I guess my entire 12 years there, I've spent a good chunk of it in the kitchen developing recipes. And one of the things I love about that is that I haven't been pigeonholed. I bake, I work on cuisines from across the world and learn a lot. I get to apply science in some cases. Other times I'm just looking for a fast and easy meal because that's what often our readers want. And so that's been fun. But putting a magazine together involves a lot more work than just, writing a recipe and writing a story. And as I was able to get through recipe development more quickly, I got to work on other aspects. For the longest time, I was working on photo shoots. All of the food that you see in the magazine, on the show, it's all real food made by us. Sometimes we'll have professional stylists come in. Usually it's for, something where there's a setting and a scene to it. But if you're flipping through an issue of Cooks Illustrated, you'll often see food that's just on a white background, food that's just on a plain plate. And there we're trying to teach something. We're trying to help you learn how to do a thing or learn why we're asking you to do something that seems kind of obnoxious. And all of that food, that's just made by the test cooks. And so working photo shoots has been a ton of fun. All the Cooks Illustrated recipes, we do cook-throughs. And so if you're making something and you're not sure what the recipe means when it says, cook to this color, or stir till you get to this consistency, you can watch a video, and it's the cook who developed the recipe making the recipe, so you can see what it is we want you to do. And that's something we've been doing since I got there. It's not something that's published or acknowledged that often, but I find recipe cook-throughs to be fun to do. I had to learn how to do voiceovers. If you listen to early recipes, not that they're not wooden now because I'm still reading a recipe, but if you go through something from like 2011, it's pretty rough. It's pretty dry, pretty boring. And so that's been fun. In the last 6-7 years, I've gotten to dabble with TV, and that's been super weird, but also fun. It's just a whole different way to look at telling stories about food, looking at how to cook and how to teach. It's been fascinating. Yeah. Very cool. All right, so let's talk a little bit. Again, we are the Infatuasian podcast. Let's dig a little deeper into your background. Can you tell us a little bit about your origin story, your family? How'd you guys get here, and where did you guys come from?
So I was born in Vietnam, and my family left after the war because I was born about an hour south of Saigon, so very southern most part of Vietnam. My family were pro-nationalists, and so it was not the best place for us. We left on do you remember footage of like people on boats from the 80s?
Yeah.
We left on one of those, and we spent, I think this is such I should preface this by, these are family tales told by people who tell stories very well, and I'm never quite sure which parts are true and which parts are embellished.
Okay.
But that being said, my grandmother told stories about how we got on the boat when I was 40 days old, and
wow.
We were on that boat for a week. We were attacked by pirates twice, and my parents smuggled valuables in my diapers. They sewed stuff into the linings of my diapers. And so I was like, gosh, I was attacked by pirates and a smuggler when I was 40 days old. Nothing more interesting will ever happen to me.
You peaked early. Yeah.
I really, truly did. But we eventually got to a refugee camp in Indonesia. I'm not exactly sure where, but we were there for, maybe 9 or 10 months before we were adopted by this church in Palo Alto. And they brought us to the States, set us up with a place to live, got my parents a used car, helped them find jobs and learn English, got me into schools when I got old enough. And so that's kind of how I got to the States and how my family got here.
Now, do you have some Chinese ethnic roots as well?
Yeah, some of my grandparents are Chinese, but I was born in Vietnam.
Okay.
And,
do you speak Chu Chow?
I recognize like 5 words. I'm told that was the first language I spoke, but what I remember is speaking Vietnamese and trying to learn English. And I remember maybe it was, I think, kindergarten, where I was so quiet. I think 1, because I didn't really speak English, but 2, because I was an especially introverted child. The teachers thought I had some sort of learning disability. And so I was tested to make sure that I was in the right class. And it was a concern for my parents, definitely. But I think it all worked out.
And look at you now. You're on television speaking to millions of people.
Yeah, what a weird.
Yeah. A little preview for my audience out there. Have you watched the movie Donut King, the documentary?
I have not, no.
Fascinating show, but we're going to talk to the Donut Princess. She's his niece, and she's Cambodian, and her book, she wrote a book, and the stories coming out of Southeast Asia in the 70s and 80s makes you realize how soft American born kids are. You were tough because you were 40 days old and you survived, and you made it through.
I didn't do anything. Let's be clear.
Can you even imagine, I have kids and, we wouldn't even go to Napa without, a suitcase full of stuff, and just, moving half our house just to go on a quick little trip. But can you imagine leaving everything, carrying everything you own and a child? I just can't imagine.
I just traveling to a place where I don't speak English, I get so nervous and I'm reading up on common phrases I should know, etiquette, and, the idea of moving somewhere, just knowing that my entire life would start over I'm so impressed by what my family has accomplished. It's pretty amazing.
It is. Yeah. And I said this before, it's not an uncommon story, but it's still impressive, for as many times as I hear that story, I am still amazed that it gets done, that people do this.
Yeah. Yeah. And that it's still happening now, and how hard it continues to be. It's really something.
Yeah. Yeah. Does your family history, I've seen you cook some Asian dishes on the show. Does your family history affect your job on more than just cooking those recipes?
Yeah, it's funny. One of the challenges of working at America's Test Kitchen is we have a lot of test cooks who have developed a lot of recipes over the years. And so coming back and doing every year for the November-December issue, we do a turkey. magazine's been around for a long time, and finding new ways to do turkey is hard. When you think about other recipes that are also really core to the American culinary canon, I think it can be hard for Americans to approach those with fresh eyes. I don't have that problem because I didn't grow up with any of this. And so a recipe I had a ton of success with was baked potatoes. I didn't grow up with baked potatoes. I think before work assigned that recipe to me, I'd maybe made them once at work, maybe for staff meal, and was like, okay, it's a potato. Cool. I don't know. Initially, I was super nervous when they assigned that recipe to me because my assumption was, you put it in the oven, poke some holes in it. What else is there to know? But because I didn't know anything, it was pretty easy to go in and really look at recipes out there with fresh eyes. I think a lot of my recipe development and where I'm working with American recipes, I can get pretty creative and bring a new perspective. And then on the flip side, last year, I think it was, I got to do a fried rice recipe, and we have a ton of fried rice recipes. But I pitched doing my grandmother's fried rice because she doesn't load it up with a lot of the ingredients that I think are markers of Chinese, with big air quotes, for Americans. Like she's not putting a ton of soy sauce in that rice. The rice looks like rice. It tastes like rice. It's not loaded up with, I don't know, every ingredient in your pantry. It's just a handful of vegetables and some ham and an egg. It's pretty much it. And it was just a ton of fun to introduce something that I grew up eating to the magazine. Yeah,
that is cool. And what you said kind of resonated with me because my wife's family is from Hong Kong, and so she didn't grow up with Thanksgiving and Christmas meals. So when my family is from the Midwest, so when we had our family dinner, Thanksgiving dinner, she was eating things like green bean casserole for the first time, and marshmallows on yams, and she's like, "This is amazing!" And we're like, "What are you talking about? It's green bean. Everyone does this, right?" And so it's kind of interesting. Like she'll use the ATK cookbook just to get recipes that she didn't grow up. She didn't have a Midwestern grandma to show her how to make green bean casserole and ambrosia and stuff like that.
Oh yeah. There's a strawberry pretzel salad I had. That was, it was super fun. I was like, it was introduced to me by a test cook at the company. He's not there anymore, Nick Iverson. And I was like, this is weird, Nick, but I like it.
Exactly. Yeah. All right. Hey, let's talk a little television since you are a TV star now. Who knew, right? Actually, you know what I like when I see you? I love seeing Asian faces on the test kitchen, but you know what I like is that you're like half a head taller than everyone else on the show.
I mean, Dan and Keith have some inches on me, but
okay. But all the women.
But I don't know why that is. I just my parents are tall.
No, it's always like, is Lan tall or are they short?
A little bit of both. A little bit of both. Also, kitchen shoes add inches.
That's true. You go with the clogs, or are you going Danco, or are you?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Oh yeah. We know some things around here a little bit.
Yeah, you've spent some time in kitchens.
All right. So let's see. I've seen you maybe 3 years ago. When did you start cooking on TV?
I'm not sure. I should know this. They asked me to step onto Cook's Country the first season, and I think that was in 2016, 2017,
okay. So
something
longer.
like that. And then we transitioned me to America's Test Kitchen, which made more sense because so many of the recipes on ATK come from Cooks Illustrated.
Yeah. Now, when they asked you, were you like, sure, this will be great? Or were you like, you got the right person here?
I joke about how I like to do a new scary thing every 5 years.
Okay.
And I find that coincides with when I start to kind of settle into whatever it is I'm doing, and I start to get bored. And so it's a good time to kind of experiment and try a new thing. And they happened to ask at a time when I was like, do I want to do this? Is this what I want to do? I've been developing here for a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't really know what the next step is. And the opportunity arose, and I thought, all right, well, I don't know what the next step is. I guess I'll try this.
Yeah. That's a good attitude. I mean, that's where this podcast came from, too. I get bored, so I was like, hey, let's do something new. All right. And then now you're doing, is it your show, or you're doing Techniquely, which is a technique show. Very nerdy, which I love, but it's about 5 episodes in. Did you develop that, or did they pitch that to you?
No, I was lucky enough to be asked to pitch. And so this whole show started, I've been working on this for over a year at this point, well over a year. And my editor-in-chief, Dan Souza, who you might have, I don't know if you watch What's Eating Dan on YouTube, but you should. It's fun. But Dan asked me to pitch, and so we brainstormed. I got together with our production team and brainstormed some more, wrote a pilot, we shot it, it got greenlit, and off we went. And it's been such a process. I don't think I understood how much work goes into goes into making just 10 minutes of YouTube.
Yeah, no, it's people's full-time job, but it's a super fun show. Do you want to summarize it real quick? Like, what's kind of the premise of it?
Yeah, so ATK was asking me to put together a show, so it clearly had to be a cooking show. And I have a hard time watching cooking shows because in many cases, the format hasn't changed since I watched Julia Child or Jacques Pepin or Martin Yan in the 80s. It's people making a thing and teaching you how to make it and talking about why. And I wanted to put together a show where I could kind of show people how test cooks think about cooking. Because I'm not just trying to put dinner on the table. I'm looking at a recipe and trying to figure out how to make the food do a thing. All test cooks think about technique. They think about how food reacts when you combine it, when you heat it, when you chill it, when you cut it. And so since what I'm focusing on is technique, rather than cooking through a recipe, I wanted to demonstrate a technique and why it mattered across a span of recipes.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what the show is. It's, let's look at this one method. Let's see how it gets applied in different ways. Because then you can take that technique and figure out how to apply it to what you do.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I love it. I just had some bacon this morning that I cooked with a little bit of water. Who knew, right?
It works great. It works great.
Do you have a favorite episode?
Oh gosh. Do I have a, I don't think I do. I mean, I'm trying to figure out how to do lighting food on fire right now. Sneak peek into a potential future episode where we talk about grilling and flambeing and flare-ups, and maybe some wok. We'll see. Okay.
I think the audience has voted. They said cold searing is their favorite episode. Over 1 million views.
I'm shocked at how well that does, and I hope it continues to do well, because I think people should understand that they have options, and you know, there isn't just one way to do anything. Mm-hmm. It's kind of nice to see what all the different methods are and choose one that works for, you know, your space, your time constraints, the meat you're actually cooking.
The cut, exactly.
Yeah,
fun stuff. Now, this is kind of an Asian question. So do your parents brag about you when they say, hey, my daughter's on TV?
I'm not sure. I think they were happy when I got out of restaurants.
Okay.
Because I could come home and visit more than for 3-4 days right around Christmas.
Yeah.
And I think they're a little surprised that it's all still working and that, I can support myself on this career. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure it's not how they drew it up when they're coming over on the boat. They're like, oh, someday my daughter will be on TV cooking.
Right. I mean, growing up, one of the things they said was, we want you to earn a living with your brain, not your hands. And I totally get that because, our first 10 years here, they were earning a living with their hands, and it was hard. I think they felt some of the work was demeaning. I'm not sure I agree. I think it is honest work.
Yeah.
But they definitely did not want it for their children.
Absolutely.
And I think I've managed to thread the needle where I get to use both. I'm using both hands and brain.
Hands and brain. Yeah. My family again can relate to that. My father-in-law was a waiter for, several decades. And when my wife wanted to get a job at Chevy's or Chili's, he wouldn't let her be a waitress, and he said, no, you can do anything except for that. I'm not going to let you do that. So.
Oh, that's, I mean, on the one hand, I get it. On the other hand, experienced waitstaff are gems.
Yeah.
It's not something anyone really goes into anymore. There are so very few folks who understand hospitality from that point. Good service in hospitality is hard to learn. It's a skill, and it's sad to me that it's not valued as a skill.
Yeah, and I waited on tables in college, and if anything, it's giving me compassion, when I go to a restaurant. I'm a better tipper, and I understand when you see one person having, 10 tables, you're like, okay, I can wait a little longer for my water.
Yeah, I spent 2 months working front of the house and promptly scooted right back into the kitchen.
Back of the house is where to be, yeah. All right. Hey, Lan, you have survived our tough questions. Now it is time for the lightning round. And I slipped in a couple here that you don't know about, so I'm gonna see if you can answer these on the fly. What are the top 3 kitchen tools that you couldn't live without? And you could throw in a bonus honorable mention for a tool that you just like. It's not necessarily essential.
Okay. Side towel.
Okay.
I'm a little bit obsessed with knives. Can I say knives plural?
Okay, I'll give you a chef's knife, and what's your second knife you can?
Ooh, a paring.
Okay,
chef and a pairing. I could only have 2, chef and a pairing.
Okay, and you get one more tool.
Ooh, one more tool. Ooh, solid cutting board?
Yeah, okay.
Something that's not so heavy that you feel like you have to lift in order to maneuver it around, and something not so nice that you're worried about damaging it when you're cutting. I just like a solid middle-of-the-road cutting board.
You go wood, You go bamboo, plastic? What are you doing?
I've got plastic right now because they're just easier to clean and maneuver. Yeah. But if I had more space and could, had more counter space, I think I would go with a wood butcher block.
Yeah. All right. And one fun tool that you like?
But oyster knife.
Okay. All right. Yeah. In New England, you got to have an oyster knife around, yeah?
I do love oysters. They're so good.
All right. Is there anything you won't eat?
Probably, but I haven't found it yet.
Okay, so you'll do durian on a hot day in Vietnam?
Don't love it, but I'll eat it.
Okay.
They are separate questions. Will I eat it? Probably. Will I like it? Probably not.
Okay. You got to do it for the family though. You can't turn it down if someone hands you some.
My mom loves durian, and so if my mom is handing me durian, I'm going to eat it.
Okay. All right. Do you have now, not including Tokyo, because we all know Japanese 7-Elevens are amazing, but do you have a 7-Eleven guilty pleasure, a gas station, convenience store guilty pleasure that you'll get?
Oh, gosh. A lot of the candy bars, but let's see, specificity. I don't feel guilty about eating candy bars. I guess that's what I'm realizing.
Yeah.
I got it. Instant ramen. I think bad ramen is still good ramen. So, yeah.
I'm with you on that one. I think, especially if you're ever in Asia, the varieties they have over there. Though, we're getting more and more varieties here now. You can find them almost anywhere now. Do you have a chef that you'd love to cook with?
I would love to cook. I got to interview Martin Yan a couple years ago, and I don't even need to cook with him. I would just love to be in the kitchen as he cooked. I would like to be able to ask questions and to stop him and have him explain things to me. And I'd like to be able to hear and smell whatever he was doing. I can see things, I can hear things when he cooks on TV. Mm-hmm. I want to eat it, but I want to be there for the process. Yeah. Because you can learn so much just smelling what's happening and getting to ask questions.
Yeah. Yeah. For Asian American chefs, he's the godfather. Yeah. He's the television chefs, especially. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have any favorite fictional books about food, restaurants, cooking, or movies?
I was thinking about this, and when I was in, 9th, 10th grade, we read Like Water for Chocolate.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I was hooked by the way she described how food changes people, how it influences their mood, their bodies physically, how it can be used to show emotion, to show pleasure, to show disdain, sadness. Mm-hmm. It's a book that sticks with me now, and I think it's coming to mind because we're working on a chilies en nogada recipe, and that's a recipe that she cooks in the book.
Okay. All right. Yeah. No, that's an amazing movie too. Yeah. So very cool. All right. I got a Wesleyan question for you.
Okay.
How many classes did you ever take with Lin-Manuel Miranda?
Lin graduated, I think, He's year close, right? After me, 2. Okay. I think I graduated a little bit before him. I did not know him. My friends hung out with him because they were theater people, but I was not. Yeah.
I went to school, out here I went to school with Daniel Handler, who is Lemony Snicket. He also went to Wesleyan.
Another Wes alum, but early 90s, I think.
Yeah, no, even 80s, I think, yeah. Yeah, but I have another friend. I don't think you would overlap with her, but Julie Rue. So shout out to Julie Rue, Wesleyan alum. What do you call someone from Wesleyan? What did you just call them? A Wes alum?
A Wes alum? What? We had a mascot. Cardinals? I can't remember.
That's okay.
Terrible.
Okay. What did I want to say here? Oh, I think I know one that I would like, but what is your favorite perk from working at America's Test Kitchen Cooks Illustrated?
The take-home fridge.
I was going to say that. Yeah.
It's great. For those of you who don't know, we have this one refrigerator that we call the take-home fridge. After test cooks make whatever it is they're making, and everyone is done tasting, and then everyone is done snacking, the food gets packed up and it gets placed in the take-home fridge. At the end of the week, after you're done testing, any groceries that you haven't used, that also goes in the take-home fridge. And so everyone in the company shops from the take-home. And I have become very good at repurposing whatever I find in there and turning it into dinner. It's really saved me on my grocery bill quite a bit.
That's very cool. Yeah, no, I poked around the jobs on the website, and they listed some of the perks. I also think, see, I'm a gadget person, so I would love, the little extra gadgets they have laying around for the testings.
That is, I'd forgotten about the giveaway because it's been a while, but it's one other thing we do for those who are unfamiliar is we review kitchenware, and the company buys everything so that
unbiased.
We're not getting anything for free. And after the reviews team tests all 10, cutting boards, they'll hold on to them, and we'll for maybe 3 years, we want to make sure that if we're going to run that testing on TV, we have all the equipment available. If something comes up a year in and we have to retest, we can. But eventually, we're done with it. And so once a year, the reviews team will pull out all of the stuff they tested 3 years ago, and it goes into the giveaway. And there's a lottery. Everyone in the company is in the lottery. You get put into a little 15-minute slot. And when your time comes up, you roll into this giant room, take whatever you want. Within the 15 minutes you have, there's a system. You can get, I think it's 1 large item, 2 medium items, or 3 small items. And once we go through, usually you go through twice. There's a free-for-all where everyone just descends and grabs whatever is left. And it's a ton of fun. I've really, I've kitted out my kitchen with giveaway things over the last 12 years. It's been pretty great.
Yeah, but you got to think small, right? You got to think you're not bringing home the big stuff.
No, that is exactly it. Because if you're in the first group, you can walk away with something amazing. But most people get distracted by some of the big ticket items, and they're like, bread machine, that looks awesome. I want to have fresh bread every day. And they take that, and then it gets moved to their garage or attic or basement. I always go for the small stuff. It always gets used, and it's easier to get home. It's just I think the big ticket items, unless you're sure you're going to use it a lot, are kind of a distraction.
Good to know. That sounds like fun. That would be, those 2 things I think stood out for me as the perks of working there. All right. Now I'm going to give you a choice of 2 items, and you have to choose one, and the other one you can't use for a year.
Okay.
Okay. So this might hurt your soul a little bit. All right. You want to start big, or you want to start small?
Start small.
Okay. Hot sauce or soy sauce? Now, you can't use the other one for a whole year, so you got to think wisely here.
I would keep the soy sauce because there are other ways to add spice. Can I make my own hot sauce?
No,
I know how to make hot sauce.
I knew you were going to say that.
But there's chilies out there.
Use fresh chilies, yeah.
I can work around that one.
All right. Here's one. I think this might be hard. So this is the age-old question, not which came first, but would you take a chicken or would you take eggs?
Eggs.
Yeah. I saw you on Ask the Test Kitchen. I thought you might say eggs.
Yeah, I've always thought that eggs are the reason I could never be vegan. I could give up meat. I could give up dairy. I could give up honey. I don't think I could give up eggs.
Yeah.
They're just so great. They're so useful, and they're so tasty.
Yeah. My daughter and I just watched your egg kimchi avocado egg sandwich this morning. We loved watching.
You should try those sandwiches. There's that little baked egg souffle inspired by Joanne Chang's breakfast sandwich.
Okay.
Is amazing.
Okay.
It's really good. Yeah. You can do anything with it.
And that one's on YouTube, so you guys can go watch that one. All right, this last one, surf or turf? All of seafood or all of land animals?
Oh, I'll keep seafood.
Okay.
I can. Bacon would be hard, but I could do it, especially if it's just for a year.
Yeah.
All the other stuff. It's funny. Over time, I've moved not towards. I'm not vegetarian, and I don't think I ever will be. But I eat very little meat these days, except when work says you have to eat that now.
With bacon being the exception.
I mean, I like it.
No one eats pounds and pounds of it.
Yeah, I don't. It's funny. I don't actually buy meat. I think it's just I get enough at work, and so it's not too bad. Wait, do you want, I think you should play this game. I have a question for you.
Oh, yeah, sure. Fair game.
Because I had a lot of trouble with this. If you had to give up one of these things, which would you give up? Bread, potatoes, or rice?
Oh. See, I love carbs. I think if I had to give up meat or carbs, I would give up meat before I would give up carbs. So I love.
But that is not the question, Curtis.
All right, you know what?
Bread, potatoes, or rice?
I got to stay on brand. With my podcast. So I'm going to say I could give up. So is rice, bread, and what was the third one? Potatoes? Oh, yeah. Man. I only have to give up one? You get to keep two.
Yeah,
I can keep two. Okay, so I'll give up bread. I'll go potatoes and rice. No, rice would be the last to go. Of those three, rice would be the last, yeah. No, I love, my dad is diabetic, type 2 diabetes. And so he had to give up a lot of carbs. And yeah, it was tough. It was tough. Yeah. And he loves meat. But he's the Midwest guy. So the meat and potatoes is a big part of it. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So these are hard. They're kind of fun, right? They're kind of hard. Yeah. You want to try an ethnic one?
Sure.
All right. See, I don't know if this would be hard for you. Sushi or dim sum?
Oh no, that's hard.
Is it?
Ooh. For a year though?
A year.
Gosh, I guess I didn't have dim sum for a good chunk of the pandemic, but I really missed it.
There's some good frozen ones now too. There's some really good frozen ones.
And I can't make it, is what you're saying.
No, it's off the menu, too.
I think this was the one that stumps me.
Okay.
I would give up sushi.
It's only a year.
Dim sum's so broad. I don't know that I can give up all of that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's a tough one, too. Yeah, all right. So you did pretty well. I think you survived that round as well. And we like to end our show by asking our guests to choose an infatuasian. An infatuasian is anyone in the Asian community, living or deceased, that has inspired you. So Lan Lam, who is your infatuasian?
There is this woman named Jenny Dorsey, who I think everyone should follow. She is a chef, an activist. She's writing a book, getting a graduate degree at Harvard, and also cooking. Okay. And I don't know how. And she runs a nonprofit that brings attention to the underprivileged, the underserved within the food community called Studio Atao. And I was lucky enough to have ice cream with her a couple weeks ago, maybe it's a month ago. And I'm so impressed by her positivity, her thoughtfulness, how smart she is, and the fact that she's so brave. She'll call people out, and she does it kindly, and we all have so much to learn from Jenny. So everyone go find Jenny Dorsey and follow her.
Amazing. Okay, so she's Boston based. Is she East Coast?
No, she lives in, I think, LA, but for now she's in Cambridge while she's working on this degree.
Okay, yeah.
So another Californian for you.
Yeah. Okay, another transplant. You gotta look up. So Jenny Dorsey, is that what you said?
Yes. Okay. Jenny Dorsey.
Good. I love it when I get someone I don't know. So that's great. Lana, it has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for waiting for me for an hour on Zooms. I'm so sorry.
No worries. This was so much fun.
Great. Yeah, no, we love talking food and we love nerding out on it. So everyone out there, Go watch America's Test Kitchen, and you can see Lan cooking online. You can find it on YouTube, or you can go to cooksillustrated.com and find lots and lots and lots of recipes. If you want to follow Lan's Instagram, she is at Lan_cooks on Instagram. And make sure you check out Techniquely as well and learn a new technique. I think all of yours have been things that I did not know before. So, kudos to you on that.
Great.
Yeah.
I hope we get to do this fire one and you'll learn some more.
Yeah. No, looking forward to it. Hope so too. Everyone out there, you can get in touch with us by writing into infatuasianpodcast@gmail.com. You know where to follow us on Instagram at The Infatuasian Podcast. Thanks for listening to us. Let us know if you enjoy this show and tell a friend about this. If you have a huge America's Test Kitchen fan in your life, make sure they hear this episode to learn more about Lan. So on behalf of Lan and myself, we hope that you're all happy, healthy, and safe out there. Until we talk to you again. Bye.
Bye, everyone.